I'm going to go over the changes for 1102 with you guys very briefly. It's just a little bit of an overview. Obviously, once I've gone over this, if you have more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. So changes for this class will continue to be asynchronous. We will not be meeting as a group during a scheduled time, or at least we will not be required to meet as a group during a scheduled time. All further discussions that were planned post spring break are now canceled. The essay draft itself is also canceled. Instead, all assignments, including missing ones that are outstanding, are due on April 22nd by 11:59 p.m. in the appropriate assignment folders in CourseDen. This is the only way that I can accept them at this time. So make sure that you're saving things correctly as either a doc or a PDF file when submitting those. What has changed, in addition to canceling the essay draft itself, are my virtual office hours. So any office hours that were scheduled in the syllabus at the beginning of the semester are now obviously virtual. How this is going to work is that I will schedule Google meetings, a recurring Google Meet, during those office hours, with the exception of my Writing Center hours, and I'll get to that in a second. And during the scheduled meeting, you will receive a calendar invite for these times. And within that invite email, you can click the link and choose to join the meeting if you wish. You absolutely do not have to. Essentially, this just means that I will have a meeting set up and ready to go during those normal office hours so that you can pop in and out at will. This does mean, however, that other people may be in that chat, which is fine because I think the more we see other people at this point, the better. But if you want to meet one-on-one, you're welcome to set up an individual appointment with me outside of those times, and then we can use whatever format works best for you. So if you don't want a video, we don't have to video. We can just use Meets as a phone or an audio meeting. And additionally, we can also just work with email and Hangouts and chats and things like that. So whatever works best for you works best for me. Back to the Writing Center hours. I'm sure you've gotten a ton of emails about this, but essentially the Writing Center is virtual. You'll have an opportunity to submit an assignment to the Writing Center, who will then disperse that assignment to an available tutor. This means that my hours on Mondays, which I think were 10 to 12 and then 5 to 6, those hours I have to set aside for Writing Center duties. And so we're just going to set that kind of to the side for that. But the other hours posted are available for you as well. And again, I'm going to be available basically anytime during normal working hours if you needed to get in contact with me. As for attendance, because this is an online class, it's not as the same as my face-to-face, but I would like to see or hear from you at least once, just to chat and check in, even if it's not about the class, just to make sure that you guys are okay and that you have access to all of the resources that you need. And if you don't know how to get to those things, I can maybe help you find those things. So Google Meets, if you've not used them or used it before, is very easy. It's part of the Google Suite. It's in the apps function in your Gmail account. I chose to go with Meets instead of Zoom because Meets is better supported by the university and I think is a little bit sturdier. So any of the visual meetings that we will be doing will be via Google Meets. Again, I'm going to create a recurring meeting for office hours via Google Calendar. So it will be up and it's going to be essentially like if you were to pop into my physical office on campus. So there may be somebody there. But either way, you can join in and we can just chat with you guys one at a time. And there will be a link in an email that you'll receive in your inbox. So be on the lookout for that. If you want to meet with me again individually, virtually, obviously, email me to schedule a time and I'll be happy to set that up. The link in this Google Doc that I'm going to be sending to you guys just has like an overview how to use it. If you need to use your phone, for instance, for audio, you can call in and it kind of walks you through how to do that. It's pretty straightforward. Having said that, some of you may not have had experience with virtual meetings, and so I just wanted to give you just a few reminders ahead of time to try to avoid some maybe embarrassing situations. Make sure that you do use headphones if possible. I think that it's best mostly because it kind of blocks out external background noise. It cuts down on issues when you're talking in terms of static because it could be a little more focused, and that works for fancy headsets but also for just like normal headphones. The first thing you should do after you greet people is to mute your mic unless you are the one speaking. This is probably the number one pet peeve that people come across when doing virtual meetings, is to hear somebody in the background or somebody's phone going off or just them talking and not realizing that other people can hear them. So unless you are speaking, mute the mic. I am the moderator for these meetings, and so I can also mute them if you forget for whatever reason. Remember also that the chat tool in the Meet is visible to everybody. It's public. And so whenever you put a question in there, just be aware that other people can read that question, which shouldn't be an issue, but just in case, be aware of that. I'll also be using the chat function to send you links if necessary during that meeting. And always be courteous and remember to have things that you may need in front of you so that you're not having to leave the meeting to grab something, that you have it there readily available. The don'ts are pretty common sense, I think. Don't do anything you wouldn't do in a face-to-face class. Don't talk over people. And most importantly, don't forget that we can see you. And if you choose to share your screen with me, don't forget that I can see everything that's on your screen, so I can see the open tabs that you may have. And so just, kind of things that we maybe don't think about ahead of time, let's go ahead and get that centered in our brains before we do any of these meetings. As always, I think that there's going to be an adjustment period, but I also think that you guys and your generation is pretty tech savvy, and I'm not really worried about you guys picking it up. And this also is, I think, going to turn out to be really useful for you in the long run, because most companies at some point require you to use a virtual meeting of in some manner, and so you will already leave with that experience. So we're going to find the positive in this really weird world. Okay, so that's it for this. I will be sending out those calendar invites this weekend, and you should have access to them on Monday.